It's 8 minutes past 10 o'clock. That was tomorrow, people, with lose track of time. Speaking of time, it is 8 minutes past 10 o'clock. Sefuiva Moeumu Uili is 36 years old and from the villages of Levi, Samoa, Potasi, Lefangoali'i, and Sili. She graduated from the National University of Samoa with a bachelor's degree in science back in 2007, and then from the University of the South Pacific in Suva, Fiji, with a postgraduate diploma in environmental studies back in 2011. She is a former employee of the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, working as a principal parks and reserves officer under the Division of Environment and Conservation. This year, Sefuiva is taking a step back from her career with the government to pursue a master's degree in fish, wildlife, and conservation biology at the Colorado State University with funding support from a Fulbright Scholarship. Her research is on the conservation of Samoa's national bird, the Manumea, listed as critically endangered on the world's list of endangered species. Sefuiva is on the line with us now. Talofa lava Sefuiva, thank you so much for making time to have a chat with us this morning.
Good morning, Ete. Thank you so much for having me on your early edition with Ete show. I'm happy for this opportunity to share with you and answer any question you might have for me. Also, good morning to all the listeners of Samoan community and our friends from around the Pacific residing in New Zealand. Kia ora, talofa lava.
Kia ora indeed. Now, let's go back to the beginning. What was it that led you down to this path of conservation?
Thank you. I guess I grew up in a family that is more working with the environment. My passion always was to go out and explore new things. I was educated and looking up to my dream of becoming a conservationist once I graduated. The Ministry of Natural Resources was one of the um, areas that I wanted to work in. Gladly, I pursued that, and I continued to explore and wanted to find out more about the environment of Samoa. And when I started working with the ministry, I noticed that this species, our national bird, is facing a lot of threats. It's been endangered, and now it's down to being critically endangered and at the verge of extinction. So I wanted to follow that and making sure that I can do something to protect our species and environment of Samoa.
Speaking of the Manumea, is the Manumea unique to Samoa only? It won't be found anywhere else in the world. Is that true?
That's correct. So the Manumea is Samoa's national bird. It is endemic to Samoa, which means it is found only here and nowhere else in the world. It is the only surviving genus of Didunculus species. Only recently, another species was found from Eoa in Tonga, but this is the only one that is surviving up until today. So that makes it so unique.
Now, when you say it's in Samoa at the moment, is it in most of the islands or only in one island on Samoa?
So records has it that it's been found in both the main islands, Upolu and Savaii. It was also cited from the offshore Ali, but the offshore islands, Nu'utele and Nu'upua. But so far up until now, it's only been recorded from Upolu and Savaii Islands.
Now, when was the last time someone saw a Manumea?
In 2020. just last year, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, I was part of the team that conducted a biodiversity assessment survey on the Central Islands of Savai'i, and that was just about A'o. And so we were part of a bird taxa team that did the surveys up there, and we sighted an adult bird up on the trees. It's what we call vivao or Reynoldsia species of trees. We only sighted it once for just only a few minutes, and then it escaped from us again. So from there, we also heard calls that we suspected of the Manumea, but we've been working closely with the experts to provide us confirmation of all those recordings we took. So that was the last time we saw it.
And how far inland were you when you saw that Manumea last year?
So we saw it at 1,600 meters elevation. That was about over 15 kilometers from the shores. So it's right within the central part of Savai'i Islands, close to the mountain city, the highest peak in Samoa.
From your estimation, how many Manumea do you think are left in Samoa now?
Of all the surveys that we've conducted and some observations from some of the scientists and experts that have come here and worked with us, we came down to an approximate estimate of around between 250 to 400 species of Manumea, but those are just estimates.
Wow. Now, obviously, from your own personal experience, it's really difficult for us humans to get into the area where the Manumea live. That is probably a blessing in many ways that we're unable to access those areas because often, I will need your confirmation of this, we in the past have used them for eating and also for the decoration of our fine mats.
That's right. So we have records and documents from the past years that our Samoan people have used Manumea as one of the gifts by the high chiefs of the villages to the visitors in the villages. So they've apparently used Manumea as food to serve to the visitors. And also they've used the feathers of the bird to decorate fine mats, the very fine mats that Samoans use today for traditional ceremonies.
Yes, you sent me some photos, and I saw there's a beautiful red plumage that sits underneath on its chest, and I imagine that would have been very much valued by Samoans.
Yes, so that was basically the reason why they used it. It was because of the colors. They were so attractive that they wanted to decorate, and it makes such a nice fine mats with the varied colors of the feathers of Manumea. But nowadays we don't use them anymore. So, and this is mainly because we noticed the bird being so rare and hard to find in the forest. So we tend not to use the feathers of the Manumea.
And what do they feed on? And is that whatever bush or tree it feeds on, is that in danger?
So the tree they feed mostly on the fruits of our native trees. One of them, I call them in Samoan, the ma'ali trees, the langa'ali, the moso'oi, mamalava, malili. But the most species that they follow is the mauta or the Disoxylum species. So records show that Manumea follow this species of trees. So it is suspected that wherever we can find the Manumea, the Maota trees, we should also be able to find the Manumea there because they feed mostly on the fruits of that plant species.
And the Malta is not in danger. There is plenty of Malta in the deep forest of Samoa.
Yes, the mota is not endangered. It is mainly well distributed throughout Samoa, from coast right up to the highest peak. So it's pretty much everywhere. However, we still see the numbers of Manumea declining, and this is one of the factors that we are trying to research at the moment, is what exactly causes the decline of the species. If there is a lot of Maota found and still fruiting, so what exactly is it that is causing the species to decline?
How will you be able to count the Manumea from now? I understand from reading in an article that you were able to get audio recordings that were tricked off with devices that you planted in the middle of the forest. Will you look to include video recordings of the Manumea?
Yes, so part of the research that I'm doing now with the um, Colorado State University, and working together with the Samoa Conservation Society and all our other partners, such as the Open Zoo Trust Fund, the BirdLife International, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment, the community. So we all try to work together and come down to the best methodology that we can use to get more information about the bird and its distribution. So we use the acoustic recorders to space out into the forest of Samoa from both Wolu and Savai'i, to capture the cause of the Manumea. So also we are using, we plan to use the trail cameras to install in all these areas. But one thing that is very important when distributing the SAMI quotas, and especially the trail cameras, is for us to be able to find a nest. And that would be very cool to find one that we can put the trail cameras in it and then track the activities of the bird on the nest, because this is one of the focus of the research, is to find how successful the nesting of the Manumea.
Now, for you personally, it is a journey that has been a long one. How exciting was it for you to see with your own eyes the Manumea last year?
I guess it was an unexplainable feeling, being able to sight it and took the photo with my team from the Division of Environment Conservation. We were we had no words to explain the feeling that we had, because when we went out, most of the people didn't believe in the work that we do. They told us, well, you won't be able to find them on there. It's been over 10 years and no one's been sighted any bird. Maybe it's gone extinct. So you'll be lucky to find one. But that day in December 2013, it was closer to the end of the survey that we had in Savai'i, and the end of the day as well. And finally, we saw that juvenile bird. So it was so exciting that we take the news back to our to the office, and then we made a press release about it. It's such a feeling that we will remember.
And you were able to get a photo.
Yes, we took a photo. It was it took us a few minutes trying to be sure of the bird before we took the photo, because no one's been being able to see the bird in the forest, and we had no idea what exactly it looks like apart from the photos that we had from the Natural Museum in America, and some of the experts such as Wolf Pico, who shared us some photos. So we had this, and comparing with the species, with the bird that we saw. So we took the photo knowing that exactly that we are the bird that we are seeing is the Manumea. So
Yes,
yeah,
because
it
that
was
photo of
very
that juvenile one differs from the ones that you sent me of the samples that are in a museum in the United States, in that there was the red plumage down its chest. But because it was a juvenile one, that was probably what made you question whether it was the Manumea or not, because it didn't have the coloring that the adult ones did.
yes. So that's a good thing about sharing photos from the past, because that photo that we have from the Natural History Museum in America in New York City, that was the photo that we used to identify and reconfirm that the bird that we're actually looking at is a juvenile of the Manumea. And we were so excited because we knew then that it's not only that we sighted a bird, we took the photo, but it's also a sight that it is breeding in our forest.
Sefuiva Moeumu Uili, thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, we've run out of time at our end. We wish you all the best with your studies and your research, and fingers crossed that we will get plenty more photos of Samoa's national bird, the Manumea.
Thank you so much for having me. Fingers crossed that we will find more.
You're listening to Early Edition with Ete. That was Sefuiva Moeumu Uili. Just received, awarded a Fulbright scholarship to study the Manumea, Samoa's national bird, believed to have been extinct for many years, but has been spotted and, in fact, photographed by Sefuiva and her